Project Zomboid is a game that rewards preparedness and planning. And as someone who deals with an annoying amount of anxiety every day, I always find myself running through a checklist in my head on each new playthrough of what items I should always have on my person at all times. Because while experience and general game knowledge are both quite important, if you're not properly geared, relying on that alone might not be enough to get you out of whatever situation you've landed yourself in. So what should you always carry on you? For starters, always make sure you take the organized trait when starting a new character, as this increases the container capacity for nearly all containers, including wearable items. Typically, I'll make it a priority to find either a large backpack or a military backpack early in the playthrough, as well as 2 fanny packs. Military backpacks are the best backpacks you can find in the vanilla game, and fanny packs can be worn 2 at once in combination with a backpack as well. I organize my fanny packs and backpack like so. I have a fanny pack on the front, which carries small essential items, and one on the back which carries medical supplies, and a backpack which carries heavy essential items, as well as loot found while I'm out scavenging. I'll break down each container and explain why I carry each particular item, but before that, there's 3 apparel items you should always wear as well, those being leather gloves, digital watch, and a holster or double holster. Leather gloves are the only gloves in the vanilla game that give protection for your hands, and allow you to pick up broken glass without cutting your hands. The digital watch is useful for not only telling the time, but the day and current temperature outside. And a holster is just handy for being able to carry a small firearm without having to dig around your inventory to equip it. Using a gun in Project Zomboid is typically a no-no and usually just makes things worse, but it's there as a last resort or if things are already at their worst and you don't plan on sticking around to deal with the extra zombies that gunshots will bring. For your main inventory, you should keep it as empty as possible. Backpacks and fanny packs reduce the weight of an item, so it'll be less heavy in one of those containers versus carrying around in your main inventory. Typically, the only thing you want to hold in your main inventory is a bottle of water, as your character will automatically drink it when they get thirsty. Also, bourbon bottles have the best volume to weight ratio currently in the vanilla game. I usually tend to have a long-range melee weapon on my back, such as an axe, and a short blunt weapon on my belt, typically a pipe wrench. And for the holster, I usually have a pistol for the most dire emergencies. Now, for the essentials fanny pack, I have a pencil and eraser for drawing and erasing stuff on the map, lighter and matches for starting fires, lighting molotovs, scissors for cutting up denim and leather garments for strips, can opener for opening cans, screwdriver for assembling and disassembling various furniture or electronics, and a spare magazine for the pistol. For the meds fanny pack, alcohol wipes for disinfecting wounds, beta blockers to reduce panic. This is critical because panic lowers your weapon accuracy and reduces your damage and critical hit chance while using both melee weapons and guns. A needle and thread not only for tailoring but stitching up deep wounds, although the suture needle is better for this. Painkillers for killing your pain, sleeping tablets in case you're in pain or anxious and that's preventing you from sleeping, sterilized bandages for healing wounds, I tend to carry at least 4 if not more, suture needle and suture needle holder for dealing with deep wounds. Like I mentioned, you can use a needle for this, however the suture needle causes less pain to use and has a higher success rate to stitch a deep wound if used with a suture needle holder. Tweezers for removing glass and bullets, and vitamins for reducing tiredness. It's important to note this doesn't reduce the exhaustion players experiencing from moving around and fighting, but the more tired a player is, the more slowly they regain their stamina. Now for the main backpack, I usually leave this fairly empty as backpacks have the best weight reduction for items, so the best use for carrying loot found while scavenging. I do however always carry a hammer for building and disassembling things, an extra water bottle in case my main one runs out and there's nowhere nearby to refill, and sometimes a saw. This can be optional, but I usually carry it with me again for disassembling things. And that's pretty much everything I typically carry on me, regardless of where I'm going or what I'm doing. We can extend the preparedness even more by utilizing our vehicle's container space as well. In one of the passenger seats, I keep a long-range firearm, typically a shotgun for crowd control if I'm clearing a building that's gone out of hand, ammo for that gun as well as spare bullets for the pistol in the holster, and a first aid kit, which has pretty much everything that's already in the meds fanny pack, but just more, as well as a splint. In the glove box, I keep extra water and non-perishable food in case it's too far to get home, or I'm unable to loot for some reason. Books and comic books to relieve stress, boredom, and unhappiness. A hand torch, which isn't really necessary, as typically the game isn't too dark to need to use it, and usually most players aren't looting at night, they're sleeping, but just in case. And a lighter and matches in case the ones in your fanny pack run out, and in the trunk, I carry a couple full and empty gas cans for refilling or siphoning gas, a spare tire, sledgehammer in case you need to break down a door or security gate, wood axe for chopping trees. You can use a regular axe, but you will lose more endurance and take longer to chop down trees. Wrench, car jack, lug wrench, tire pump for vehicle maintenance away from home. Car battery charger, which does require to be connected to a generator in order to work. And a spare long-range weapon in case your main one breaks. Also, if you want to be really prepared, throw a whole ass generator in there too if you can spare one. This isn't crucial as they take up a lot of room and they're quite heavy, but may be handy if you have to stop at a gas station after the power shuts off, or you want to set up a base on the other side of the map quickly. So with all this put together, there's not really a whole lot that can be thrown at you that you're not prepared for, and most situations can be dealt with without having to run back to base. Hopefully you found this useful, and if there's anything that you do differently, let me know in the comments.